as we keep reminding all of you watching and joining us here, the Cup of Dreams segment during the World Cup coverage will continue starting today right till the end of the tournament. So let's start on this segment of our special coverage to talk about what are the teams building up to, how are they shaping up. We looked at two first teams yesterday, which was the host nation India and the defending champions England. Today, we look at a team that's been the most successful at World Cups, Australia, and the most unluckiest, New Zealand. Let's start with Australia. They have been 5-time champions, and as cricketing countries they have almost always managed to create winning combinations. On paper and on the field, they have the high-impact players, especially a string of very intimidating fast bowlers that have always come through their ranks, even after the best that had to leave. Now here's what the squad looks like on paper. Some very senior hands there, again, possibly the last one for a few of them this World Cup could be. They are carrying the injured Travis Head with them and Pat Cummins again. What a moment for him as a young captain of this side. You know, a whole lot of pressure too. We're speaking of following in the footsteps of Aussie genius captains like Steve Waugh, Alan Border, Richie Benaud, Ricky Ponting, Mark Taylor. Of course, Steve Smith, a former captain as well in the mix. So yes, I won't be too surprised if Pat Cummins does feel a little hot under that collar. But he does have an able squad to lead. Some seniors there in the batter list, David Warner, Steve Smith on a comeback trail, and a proper fiery pace unit. So let's break this down then for you. Today for this side, I will start by putting up my ace of the pack. And for this one, I'm picking a bowler rather than a batter that we normally go with. It's Mitchell Starc. You just can't look past this man going by World Cup records or just big match performances. He's the man for you. He's come off a very good warm-up match where he took a hat-trick just some days ago. Like many of his fellow speedsters in the past, like Mitchell Johnson, Glenn McGrath, Mitchell Starc is quite the fierce competitor who will always be all smiles when you get off the field. And that's why he will always be dangerous in World Cups alone. For Australia, that's his record. In ODI World Cups, 18 matches, 49 wickets, just on the cusp of 50 there. His best has been a stunning 6 for 28 at an average of under 15. What more do you want? Everyone remembers that brilliant delivery that dismissed Ben Stokes in the 2019 World Cup. There are indelible moments from his bowling. Sure, he has not had much ODIs under his belt this year, but he's warming up just fine. Now moving on, time for me to pick the jack in the pack. There's always something big that we always think is around the corner when you talk about this man. Whenever he's around, and somehow it goes by without him leaving a mark. There's a lot riding on him in here though. I'm probably sticking my neck out here on this one, but Glenn Maxwell, returning to the side after an ankle injury, is my pick for this particular card. It's definitely a big positive for the Aussies, but they aren't just looking to him for some big hitting in the middle order, but also roll his arm over to give Zampa some relief and support from the other end, in the absence of Ashton Agar and till Travis Head comes back in. So in some sense, he holds the key to at least the initial phase of the campaign. Next up, who's the joker in the unit? I'm going with Mitchell Marsh for this one here. Now hear me out. As we know, Travis Head's absence really putting the onus on a lot of players, and Mitchell Marsh is also one of them. You need a strong opening combination, especially in the subcontinent conditions, to get on top of the new ball and deliver. And with the most experienced David Warner at one end, there is no reason Mitchell Marsh can falter here. Now he's confident. He's a confident player against pace. The sample size, though, as an opener is quite small, but this is what we have as an opener in one dayers. Just 6 matches there, around 365 runs. And his best was 96, which we saw recently. A good strike rate at 125. There is potential. He can set the tone for a side that has some worries here. And by the time the spinners come on, he's got his eye in. This could be a great move to counter the absence of a huge asset that we know Travis Head to be. At least till he gets fit. But we'll wait and watch for that one. We have to talk about the deadwood, the weak link here. Now, my only question here is, where is your second specialist spinner? Adam Zampa is no stranger to these subcontinent conditions, but who is going to assist him there? That would be key. And with some grounds, this will be a tough question for Australia to respond with, because that's where someone like Glenn Maxwell would be handy. All right, this is one side your heart goes out to. They came close to winning this one twice. In 2015, when the host country back then, Australia, came in their way. And of course, the heartbreaking loss in 2019 against the host England. Could they be third time lucky? And the build-up for New Zealand in this series hasn't been too heartening and not too positive. They lost the series against Pakistan. It was also an away series, 1-4. The next they lost to England, and that was quite recently in September, 1-3. And of course, the only series that they managed to win was against Bangladesh, 2-0. Now, losing to Pakistan in the ODI series in May, all of that could have probably is what we're worried about, the form that's heading into this particular series. But let's look at how the squad looks. Kane Williamson is leading the side, in fact, the only one to survive as captain from the 2019 World Cup. Across teams, he's the only captain who has persisted. The captains of every other country has changed hands. Tom Latham is his deputy, and he may just lead the charge against England in their opening game, though we did see Kane come out to get some time out in the middle with the bat during the warm-up matches. Now, we are not sure just how fit he completely is, but nevertheless, having him in their corner is surely a massive boost to this contingent. And just looking at the side, there are a few concerns there. When we see someone like a Saudi who's obviously there, but going by how he's injured, when is he going to come back? That's also another question. But going by the way they performed against South Africa in the warm-up, it does look like most things are getting ticked over there. All right, so let's decode this side with our lens. Let's start with the jack in the pack, shall we? I'm picking Mitchell Santner for this one. He will lead the spin attack with Ish Sodhi. I reckon also someone like Rachin Ravindran, the young left-arm spinner, getting a game or two as well, just to add to the variety to this attack. But Santner will be key with the bat too, lower down the order. We've seen how important it is to have a long batting order. And Santner, low down, will be key with some of his big hits. He knows the conditions well here. And here's why he's important. He's been around for a while. He knows how to operate, can plug the runs, and give his team a shift in momentum too. That's what he looks like in ODIs. Quite a fantastic record, 94 matches, 91 wickets there. He can plug the runs and keep things in check. Now, moving on to the ace in the mix. Now, I had no trouble picking this one. I'm going with Trent Boult. Much like the Aussie setup, a lot will depend on how this man spearheads the attack, especially with Saudi still out. But irrespective, Boult is someone you will look to get those early breakthroughs and basically put the opposition on the back foot right from the start. You need a Boult to fire up and ease the pressure on relatively not so fiery batting lineup. A batting lineup that is heavily reliant on the top with Devon Conway and the like. And rounding it off with the joker card here. I'm going with Kane Williamson. Sort of like the talismanic figure for the Kiwis. He's been through all the highs and lows that this unit has faced over the last decade. Just him being there in the New Zealand dressing room will be massive. And the more games he plays, just the better fluidity from the openers into the middle order, because he holds the key to get that smoothness onto Glenn Phillips, Jimmy Neesham, and Mark Chapman to take charge and take it forward. They will look to him to lead their campaign whole and soul. In terms of a concern, I would probably look at their pace unit, little teeth lacking there to support Boult, but and some firepower in the batting. Much of that will, of course, rely on Jimmy Neesham. It's the dream of every cricketer, the ultimate glory. Few manage to keep their date with destiny, but for many, it's been heartbreaks and a cross to bear. The Holy Grail is here in India. I'm Rupha Ramani, and Firstpost brings you the ringside view. We bring you the Cup of Dreams, Cricket World Cup coverage like never before.